the Pulse for Good channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new presidential administration. Don't worry, we're not going into politics. Instead, we're talking about what the new presidential administration might mean for refugees. This will be a fairly quick video. There's not a lot of information right now about what the Biden administration's plan is. However, there is some information that we did receive and have received over time from the candidate Joe Biden, and we'll contrast it to the previous administration and try and see what the difference may be for refugees entering the Americas. Contrast that for what it means for refugees entering America. Every year, refugee resettlement agencies help resettle refugees from around the world in the United States of America. Groups like Catholic Community Services, the International Rescue Commission, and others help settle groups in ways that help them be able to adapt and add value to society as quickly as possible. Most of these refugees, in fact all of these refugees, are fleeing some form of violence or starvation or plague. All of them are fleeing a trauma and need help. They speak an incredible amount of different languages and come from a huge different amount of countries around the world. And each of them have the same needs. They need to be settled. They need to feel safe. They need to be able to get a good job. And they need to work through the process that is becoming a legal resident inside the United States. Most of them are seeking asylum from one group or another. And it can be very important to be able to get more of these refugees into the country, to be able to help our economy. It helps bring cultural value, and at the end of the day, it just helps them. So, where were we at before? As part of the Trump administration that has been a little less prone to inviting refugees into the country, they had set a goal of having 15,000 refugees enter the country last year. That 15,000 mark is far below where we've been in the past, and it's far below other countries other countries that are comparable to the United States or other United States allies. Candidate Joe Biden has committed to having 125,000 refugees a year, and in plans that have come out that are supposed to go to Congress, it sets a minimum standard of about 90,000 refugees per year. Now, what does this mean? Well, what it would mean is a reinstitution and a reestablishment of the refugee resettlement agencies and refugee resettlement program as a bigger part of our foreign policy. It changes the amount of vulnerable people that would be served and resettled through a community. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? These refugees come in legally through an asylum process. There have been interesting cases of deportations. You probably have noticed the ICE camps or other things like that in the news. All of these come from a fairly unfriendly refugee and immigration policy, and some of those will probably be changed over a period of time. Now, we fully expect there to be far more refugees allowed into the United States in the next administration, but that trend may not continue. There is a growing trend of feeling like America should be a little more isolated and let less refugees in, and try and help deal with the problems more in a local setting. There are massive refugee camps around around the world, in places like Syria or otherwise, of groups fleeing oppression. And the United States has done a fair amount to try and help bring people in, but there's still, the amount of people is almost impossible to have them completely come in. Other countries, for instance Germany, have open borders and allow large amounts of people in, and this can be a little hard. There's some cultural problems when you try and integrate that amount of people very quickly into populations. But these people are human and need help. And we're in a position that we can help them. And more so, the United States is actually in a position that have agencies that are begging to bring people in, and even states. In fact, last year, 2 years ago at this point, in the end of 2018 and 2019, the state of Utah and the Governor Herbert there, actually requested more refugees. They said, please send them to us. We will take care of them. this type of charitable spirit, I think, exists all over the country. And as long as there's a good legal way for people to seek asylum and have it well organized, I can't see a reason why we couldn't hit that 125,000 goal inside of the Biden administration. And it'll be interesting to see what the next administration does, to see if they revert back to the 15,000 they were at in a concern of resources and how it's being spent, which could be a very viable argument. Or will they defer to the let's bring in as many as possible and let these refugee settlement agencies do what they do best?